White Post Studio, George Shevchuk here. This is part 2 of government types and Christian teachings. I wanted to continue in the thought that my corroborator in these videos is made, Ben, about homogeneous societies and families, how communism seems to work a lot better in families than it does in governments. And then we talked about how it's even better in a homogeneous society than it is in a heterogeneous society. And that probably is because in a family, in a homogeneous society, people are more willing to give of themselves for the benefit of their loved ones. But in a heterogeneous society where people have less in common with one another, there's a lot more competition. And once the whole idea of competition came to the surface, then that's something else to discuss. You see, I'm aware, that competition, especially in a system of capitalism or free enterprise, it produces a better mousetrap. See, I'm aware of that. But on the other hand, it also causes a lot of wasted energy, because as we're competing against one another, there is a lot of energy exerted by both sides in order to win the competition. And it occurred to me that if you were to devote all that energy for the common good or for other members within your group, then there is no wasted energy, and therefore you could have a much more successful result. An example of that would be, unfortunately, it would be Nazi Germany, because after Germany got crushed after World War I, and it suffered its humiliating surrender and treaty at the Treaty of Versailles, the Germans were really beaten down. And when Hitler came along, ironically, Hitler could have gone down as a great leader of Germany if it wasn't for the persecution of the Jews, and if it wasn't for his warmongering and invading other countries. But that's another story and another video. But during that time period, in the when he came into power, which I'm not sure when he came into power, it was like something like 32 or 33. But in that time period, from 33 to 1940, that 6 or 7 year time period is recognized as one of the greatest economic miracles that has ever happened, where a country was started from being literally on its knees to becoming a great world power. And I submit that one of the reasons why Germany was able to accomplish this was because it was a homogeneous society and there was extreme nationalism. And this nationalism was more or less like Ben's example of a family, because the whole German country felt like as if it was a victim, and it wanted to resurrect its national pride, and it worked together for the common good and achieved miraculous things in a short amount of time. Unfortunately, once it did achieve all that power, it did not use and exert that power in wise ways, which in the end led to Germany's defeat and to a large part its destruction. But nevertheless, it does serve as an example of the power of working for the common good and not so much concentrating on the self. And therein lies the biblical concept that Jesus taught us. Jesus Christ taught us, and his apostles as well, in regards to not being focused on on yourself. And it has to do with ego, it has to do with self-centeredness. I mean, these are concepts that we all suffer from, some of us more than others. And unfortunately, our leaders and the people that are celebrities seem to be suffering more from that than the common average person. If we were to be able to focus on the greater good and focusing on people outside of ourselves, we would be able to be obedient to the instructions of the New Testament. And I wanted to read a couple of things out of the New Testament for you that you could easily read yourself and listen to them and consider them for your consideration. The first one is from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and it starts with verse 4. Love is patient, love is kind, and is not jealous. Love does not brag, and is not arrogant, does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own, and is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices in truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Another thing that I wanted to read to you that's out of the New Testament that I hope you will look up and also read for yourselves, is from Philippians. And this is Philippians chapter 2, and it starts with verse 3. Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own interests, but also the interests of others. Have this attitude in yourselves, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, although he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as a thing to be grasped. I think that these are two very important verses and chapters out of the New Testament that I hope that you look up and read for yourself. But the basic concept is that there may be communism in heaven, because I don't think that we will have our sinful human nature there. And unfortunately, it is our human sinful nature that doesn't allow communism to work here on this planet. But the system that we have in the United States of America is probably one of the best systems that humanity has ever come up with before. However, one of the things that threatens our system, in my opinion, is the corporation. I spoke about that in part one of this two-part series. And corporations have become so powerful, they're multinational, they rival in power the governments of the world, and they are not represented by the masses. They have no connection to a moral code. Their God is money and their stockholders. And it is the power, in my opinion, of the corporations that are leading our country and the world down into a very bad direction. Don't forget that our medias are all controlled by these corporations. And you could see how corrupt the media has become. Donald Trump has gone on and on about fake news. So there's a lot of deception, a lot of fakery, a lot of hidden motives. You have your military-industrial complex. These are all corporations. And we need to control them. There was a time in the United States of America when they had antitrust laws. I think they have to be brought back. and enforced. And people need to be vigilant and cautious, because this could be another vehicle that is going to lead us down into a very bad direction. Um, Unless Dan or Ben have anything to add, I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching.